Okay, take two. If you're watching that earlier, my Alexa device actually decided it wanted to talk in the middle of my broadcast. So, welcome everybody. This is the Natural Medic. My name is Craig. Thanks for joining me today on a wild Wednesday for January the 20th, 2021. And I talked about this about 2 weeks ago in my last video. I apologize, I didn't do a Wild Wednesday last Wednesday. I was unable to schedule a good time to just do one. There was a lot of things going on, and wasn't able to get it worked out. But thanks for joining me today. Please let me know if you're watching this live or if you're watching this at the replay, and let me know what platform you're watching from and where you're located in the world. I do appreciate you joining me here and listening to me. I'm going to try to keep all of these around 10 minutes, 15 minutes to the max. Try not to offer much filler, but offer just the general ideas of what I want to talk about. And I talked about the general direction the channel was going to go um, last time I was here, and what I'm looking at now is starting a Facebook group. It's going to be called the Natural Medic Outdoors. I don't have it up yet, but I will definitely make an announcement hopefully at the next Wild Wednesday on next week. Had a lot going on in business that I haven't been able to do that yet. And that group will be kind of a central point rather, pardon me, for people that are interested in different outdoor activities and how to get started in those. I myself have a lot of outdoor interests. Been in Boy Scouts since about a 7-year old, starting off as a Tiger Cub, went all the way through Eagle Scout. So that gave me my love for the outdoors. I ended up going to Stephen F. Austin State University, which is in Nacogdoches, Texas, if you haven't heard of that, and got a degree in forestry. Worked in the Park Service for the states of Arkansas and Texas for about 10 years. And unfortunately, I had some budget issues and I had to switch gears and go into EMS. And I've been a paramedic now for about 8 years, working with some EMS companies in the Architects area of the United States. So, anyway, that's a little bit about me and my background. That's where the name The Natural Medic comes from. The natural forestry degree and park park service career, and then the medic side, of course, is because I'm a paramedic and I currently am working part time as a paramedic in service over in Louisiana. Anyway, but what I want to talk about starting today is the 10 essentials. I'm going to have a freebie that you can download on my Facebook group and my website. Just as soon as it's up, I'll definitely make an announcement on here on the video stream as soon as I have that available. I'm currently working on that right now. And if you're not familiar with the 10 essentials, this is something I learned back in Boy Scouts. This was 10 items that you take on any outdoor activity because the idea of being in the outdoors, no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing kayaking, canoeing, geocaching, camping, hiking, rock climbing, whatever it is that you enjoy to do outside, hunting, fishing, all those ideas, you have a general plan about how you want to spend your time out there. You want to go at this particular time, you want to come back at this particular time. But what happens if those things don't go, according to plan? You definitely want to have some type of system and some type of equipment that you carry with you on every outing. And this is going to vary to the extent that what activity you're doing. Some of the items might be more appropriate for backpacking or hiking, but not as appropriate for geocaching, kayaking, or trail running, whatever you might be doing. Um, but the 10 essentials first showed up in a backpacking book in the 70s, early 70s. They've been adapted a little bit nowadays because we have a little bit more advancement in those 10 essentials. A lot of people talk about using their GPS, and that's not a bad deal. The problem is that GPS is dependent on batteries. And most of those devices out there, the handheld devices, or if you're using a GPS um, service or app or whatever on your phone, you have a couple of different factors. One factor is what about the environment that you're in? What if the signal is being blocked and your GPS doesn't work? What if your GPS unit or your phone dies, runs out of batteries? So you should use something when you're navigating in the wildlands out there that doesn't require batteries, and that's a map and compass. And I don't have one with me today to show you, but I will show you in another video soon. Um, if you're not familiar with using a map and compass, they're actually really simple to use. The map skills that I have, I learned in the Boy Scouts and also when I was a forestry student, earning my forestry degree from Stephen F. Austin. We were a lot of times were dropped off during forestry in a plot of land out in the wilds of East Texas, and we had a general idea of what we were looking at, but we had to usually kind of map where we were going. The difference is when you go to a park, a state park, or a national forest, or a national park, or a city or county park that's of large size. Pardon me for a second. Need a little water. You're probably going to have a map that has trails on it, or activity or use areas, and you can usually put that in conjunction with your your compass to find where you are if you happen to get lost or things of that nature. Additionally, there's other devices which we'll talk about in a later time that could be used for navigation, um, or for in extreme cases for rescue. Um, just GPS locator devices that you can push a panic button, and the Park Service or the search and rescue in the area will come looking for you. But that's kind of an extreme case. Hopefully, you don't have to use that. But you can build basic map and compass skills pretty easily. Topographic maps are pretty much downloadable these days, a lot of times for free. I'll, I will post some websites to this description as soon as I get time. Uh, some of them there's a little bit of a cost, but you can download those topographic maps, print them out, put them in a plastic bag, and take them with you on your trip. And that way you can have a generalized map of the area, so you can kind of navigate if you happen to get lost. That's an important skill to have. There's a lot of courses. I'm working on one right now. It's going to be on navigation. Um, that will help you better understand how to do that. But that's, excuse me, that's the number one thing on the list. Other things on the list, and I do have a list here that I'm reading from, so don't think I have these memorized offhand. I have to name most of them off the top of my head. But the number one is navigation. We talked about that a little bit briefly today. I'll talk more in depth about it later on and show you examples of compass and topographic maps and places you can get topographic maps. But just kind of want to give you a generalized introduction to how the direction of the channel, at least for the next 10 weeks, so almost 3 months. I've got automatic content I'll be working on and sharing with you about the 10 essentials and how I'm growing my Facebook group so we can all kind of work together to have a better time in the outdoors, a safe time, and develop our own outdoor skills, whether we have them or whether we want to hone them and make them sharper. The second part of the 10 essentials is sun protection. And that's important today in January in Texas or any other place as it would be, any other time of year. Even when you think the sun cannot burn you or cause you to be overexposed to the elements, you need to have some aspect of ways to cover up your skin, either with sunscreen of some sort or some kind of skin protectant, or have a long sleeve shirt, a hat, sunglasses, that type of thing. Because you never know what you may experience out there. You may end up leaving on a dreary day like today. Today it looks kind of overcast outside. It's about 50 degrees outside right now. It looks like it could rain at any moment. But later in the day you might have bright sunshine you have to deal with. So that's important to have. Insulation is always important because you could leave on a sunny day. Let's say today is sunny and it's warm, in the 60s or 70s. But the rain comes later on today, or in more extreme cases, if you're in the more northern climates, you get freezing rain, snow, sleet, ice, and the temperature drops, 30, 40 degrees. But by the time you are planning on getting home, you want to be prepared for that by having extra insulation. Illumination is always important. You want to have, and I'm of the thought that you want to have the devices with you that are backups to your backup. So I a lot of times would have a headlamp, just like this one. I might have um, a lighter, could also provide light and fire. You might also have a handheld flashlight or a light stick or whatever. We'll talk about that in a later episode. First aid is important. You don't want to, you can't prepare for every possible injury that you might have in the outdoors, but you want to have a small first aid kit with some band-aids and some ointment and blister prevention or blister padding, moleskin, that kind of thing, in case you get a blister or cut your finger or what have you out in the outdoors. You want to have some type of nutritional basis in the outdoors. It could be some kind of cereal bars, granola bars, trail mix. The list goes on. Something that's lightweight and not very bulky, but is easily accessible in case you need to give yourself some extra energy. If there's something happens and you have to get yourself out of a sticky situation, you may have to expend more energy than you anticipated. And so you need to have the ability to add to your caloric intake so that you can make your body do what it needs to do to get you out of that bad situation. Hydration is important as well. You want to have the ability to not only carry water, and generally speaking, talk about this in a later video as well, of course. We're going to talk about all of these in a later video. Hydration, you're probably not going to carry the entire amount of water that you would need in a day on most days, unless you're out there on a hot day. If you're out there on a hot day in Texas where it gets 100 in the summertime, at times you need to be drinking more water than you normally would intake. But normally you're going to take about half of your weight. So you're going to take, if you weigh 200 pounds, like I'm right around 200 pounds, actually a little bit heavier than that. I'm going to divide that in half, and that's how many ounces I need to ingest or drink in a day. But if I'm doing more activities that are physically demanding, hiking or running or paddling, my kayak or what have you, I'm going to need more hydration, especially if it's hot. Shelter. Now, we don't anticipate, if you're going to be out there for a day activity, we don't anticipate necessarily staying overnight, but there is the possibility that could happen. So you need to have some kind of ability to have shelter, a small tarp or reflective blanket, something of that nature. So in case, the weather does get bad or you get stranded, somebody in your party gets injured and you have to stay out there longer than you anticipate, you're ready for that. The last part is communication. And communication can be open to a lot of different things. Cell phones sometimes in the outdoors are not going to be very reliable. You'll get out there in a valley, in a mountain range. You'll get out there in some area where there's not very much cell phone tower service, and you may not be able to contact anybody. What you may want to have, in addition to that, not bad to bring a cell phone just in case, but what you might want to have is a mirror or a signaling device, a whistle, things like that to carry with you. So I kind of gave you a brief overview of what the 10 essentials are. In the coming weeks, we're going to talk about those more. Next time, I'm going to talk a little bit more about navigation and lead into sun protection. I definitely appreciate you watching. Please watch for announcements on the Facebook group that's upcoming and my freebies that I'll be sharing with you in the coming weeks. Definitely appreciate your interest, appreciate your attention, and giving me a little bit of your time this morning on another Wild Wednesday. We will see you next time. Thanks, guys.